All right, we are being recorded. So recording started. So I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. My name is Tom Wyant, Wyant Computer Services. We've been in Traverse City 20 years. We'll get to that again. Today's webinar is about the FTC Safeguard rules that apply to financial organizations, including car dealerships that have financing departments and banks and credit unions and all the other fun stuff. I am Tom Wyant. I'm the founder and CEO of Wyant Computer Services. So why are you here? You are a financial firm in Northern Michigan that is wondering what in the world all this FTC stuff is about. And when I say financial firm, you have something to do with financial processing, credit union, bank, investment firm, mortgage firm, car dealership that has a finance department. You're all covered by this rule. And the big question is, what do you have to do to make sure that you are compliant and you minimize your risk? All right, who we are. We are Wyant Computer Services. We've been in the Traverse City area for just over 20 years. I'm Tom Wyant. I have worked in the area since late 1996, started my IT career in Grand Rapids. I've done a lot of fun stuff. I've done work for some very large corporations, and I've done work for 2-person accounting firms. So I'm all over the map. I've got enterprise experience, small business experience. I've been doing IT security for a long time, 10, 15 years, voice and all sorts of fun stuff, virtualization since it first came out. So we, Wyant Computer Services, we are a security-focused IT firm in the Traverse City area. What makes us different? We live answer our phones. A lot of IT companies in the area send you to an auto attendant. We do not. We answer the phone. We get your information. We put you in touch with dispatch, or dispatch answers the phone, and we get you taken care of. We are 8 people based in Traverse City, and we work with over 100 businesses in the Northern Michigan area. And I'm Tom Wyant. I help small businesses in Northern Michigan manage their IT and risk. All right, so today's agenda, how does the FTC Safeguard rule, how does the FTC Safeguard rule impact your organization? What are the deadlines and typical timelines of implementation? What your very next step is to get your business covered and to mitigate your cyber risk. So the whole point of this thing is to mitigate your cyber risk. Hacking, malware, ransomware is way up, and we don't want you to get nailed. Okay, what are the rules? So the purpose of Federal Trade Commission's standards for safeguarding customer information. This is to make sure that nobody gets in and gets a hold of your customer information from your network. They don't breach your network. They don't, ransomware. They don't steal customer information. Customer information, social security numbers, phone numbers, email addresses, bank account numbers, credit card numbers. And you would be surprised at how much of this is laying all over networks everywhere. So why should you listen to us? Cyber attacks happen every single day. And this is a story from last year. A little over a year ago, we had taken over a company from another IT provider in town, moved their email off premise into Office 365 because they were still on small business server, which is way past end of life. Got them in the cloud, got our monitoring tools set up, and we're working on getting MFA deployed when the owner of the company gave away his username and password to somebody in India. The monitoring tools we had in place let us know that somebody from India was logged into his account. We kicked them out, changed his password, finished our MFA implementation, and he's been good since then. Now, he's given away his password again, but because we have multi-factor authentication turned on, and now we have conditional access where nobody from outside the USA can log in, they are safe. We are on the leading edge of cybersecurity. We invest into the best protection for our clients. So we cover everything from the endpoint to the network to the cloud. We've got to cover all of that to make sure you're safe and to make sure that you don't have a breach or an incident. Our goal is you are safe, you are secure, and your insurance company is happy. Because there are things that if they are done wrong, your insurance company will deny your claim, and we don't want that. What does a reasonable information security program look like? So Section 314.4 of the Safeguard Rules identifies 9 elements that your company information security program must include. So to make it the most simple to implement, you've got 4 core areas. Risk assessments by qualified individual. Usually that is a outside firm doing some of the stuff, but we can do a lot of that internally. And then you have to hire an outside firm every so often to scan everything. And there are companies that do that. Risk management plan and ongoing evaluations. So we've got to have a plan in place to mitigate your risk. If we don't have that plan, you're not safe. Employee training and monitoring. Employee training is huge. The weakest link in any business is your employees. All it takes is one employee to click on the wrong thing, and they could wipe out your entire network. Training is one part of it, and then monitoring. We actually, we put in place filtering for websites. You can't go to any website you want. We've got to filter all that and make sure that they're going to approved sites. They're not surfing places they shouldn't be that they could catch malware from. And an incident response plan. An incident response plan is huge because it lays out how you respond to a breach. Whether you ever use it or not, you need to have it, because that way you know exactly what's got to be done if there's a breach. And that takes into account how your insurance company what they want you to do, how you interact with your insurance company, how you interact with the government, because you're going to have to let the government know that you were breached. There are steps that have to be taken. There are steps that have to be taken, and those steps cover all of the pieces of how you interact with everybody around you once you have a breach. Risk assessment by a qualified individual. I already covered some of this, but we'll go over it real quick. You can formulate an entire information security program until you know what information you have and where it's stored. So you have to have a designated qualified individual to implement and supervise your company's information security program and to conduct a risk assessment. We normally do a risk assessment as part of our due diligence. When we're taking on a client, we will do an in-depth risk assessment, and then we will do ongoing risk assessments. We look for data on the network that could be, could contain risk. Bank account numbers, driver's license numbers, credit card numbers, all of that. For medical, patient health information, we go through all your network. We look for that. We look for minimum access requirements. So if you have departments and the departments don't need to see each other, permissions have to be set up for that. So there's a whole bunch to go in there that we want to make sure the network is secure. People get access to what they need, but nothing else. Risk management plan and ongoing evaluations. So you need to design and implement safeguards to control the risks identified through your risk assessment, which includes regular monitoring and test the effectiveness of your safeguards. Implement and periodically review your access controls. So your access controls, especially when it comes to permissions, you've got to make sure you've got the correct permissions in place to keep people out of what they don't have to see. There should be a policy around that designates how you determine how those access controls are applied. So who determines who gets access to what? We have one client that has this in place where the department heads determine what the individual employees get access to. So if somebody is in a group or they're in one department, they get access to certain data, they don't get access to other data. Encrypt customer information on your system when it's in transit and when it's in transit. So the data on your network should be encrypted when it's traveling between, email. If you have to send information in an email, that email should be encrypted. The data should be encrypted on your network at rest, but it's still easy to do that and access it. You as a user can have access to that because of the way the security is set up. Assess your applications. Are your applications secure? Do they require multi-factor authentication? Does your application provider allow you to do single sign-on? Can we tie that application into a single sign-on app where we use the same username and password for everybody that also has multi-factor authentication? Implement multi-factor authentication, just what I said, for anyone accessing customer information in your system. Every machine on your network should have MFA when you log in. Your email should have MFA. All of your apps, any app we can should have MFA. Preferably, we get it set up for single sign-on, so it's all one username and password database, and then MFA to approve that. Dispose of customer information securely. If you're like me, and lucky for me, the only information I keep is old webinar materials, which don't have any information that matters. But if you're like me, you may hoard data. So we don't want you to hoard data that has customer information in it. We want you to dispose of it. So if you're saving documents on your machine somewhere and you use that document, over the course of a day or a couple of days or something like that, when it's done, it's got to go. Make sure you're cleaning out your garbage. You don't be like me hoarding marketing webinars. That doesn't do you any good, and it's dangerous. Maintain a log of authorized users' activity and keep an eye for unauthorized access. So there are logs in Windows. All of this information is built into Windows. We just have to turn audit logging on, which we do. There's logging in Office 365, which is enabled. We report all of that information into a backend system that stores it all and looks for anomalies. And if there are issues, it will throw up an error. So that is how you watch this stuff to make sure that you're keeping an eye on it. We have software that watches 365 for login issues, whether it's failed login attempts or somebody from India, logging into an email box they shouldn't have access to. With this stuff in place, you cover quite a bit of ground and you're safe. Encryption also goes down to the laptop level. If you've got a laptop, it should be encrypted. We recently had a client that they left a laptop on an airplane, a Delta flight, and that laptop ended up in Atlanta. The laptop is protected by multi-factor authentication and it is encrypted. So there's no way they're going to get anything out of it. Hopefully the client will get that back, but that's how you keep yourself safe. Employee training and monitoring. We use a system called PII Protect to do cybersecurity awareness training with all of our clients. It's an initial 20 minutes and then weekly trainings to keep them, that keeps this top of mind. Don't click on things that don't look right. Outlook right now has got this thing going on where when you're in the preview pane, you can see the name, but you don't always see the email address. And unfortunately, if you don't open that email the whole way, you may not realize that's a Gmail address and not your CFO. So the ongoing employee training and monitoring helps the employees understand what is safe to click on, how to deal with things coming in. Just this morning, we received an email that was talking about an ACH. They said they claimed to send us money, and it was a company we didn't recognize. And it's garbage, delete it. So to give you an example, and there's a bunch of these, auto dealerships are being hit right now pretty hard. Hillsdale and Jackson County schools got hit. There is a nonprofit that does IT for other nonprofits in the Midland area that got hit. Hope College in Holland got hit with ransomware. These are actually there's a hospital, I think it was Iron Mountain, they got hit a couple of years ago. And what this is they'll send a file in, they'll send an attachment, they'll do a phishing, a phishing attempt. they'll find a way to get into your network. These are hackers. They'll find a way to get into your network, and they will exfiltrate your information. So they'll pull all of the information they can get access to down to their systems, and then they will they'll encrypt your entire network and basically say, hey, you're gonna pay us, a couple $100,000 to get this data back. Unfortunately, right now, you can't guarantee you're going to get your data back after you pay the money. It's gotten to the point where the hackers are like, we got the money, we don't care. We're just going to let you suffer. And because of that, a lot of people have stopped paying the ransom. But as we saw, this happened to LA schools, Los Angeles, a month or two ago. They were ransomed. They decided not to pay the ransom. The hackers released the information, which included personal information of the students. There is another school, I can't remember off the top of my head, it might have been LA, but I don't think it is, where they are using the information they pulled from the student records to blackmail students. So the students, hey, if you don't want your personal information getting out, you're going to pay me. And the students are freaking out. This is an issue. The worst part of this issue that I've seen lately is that people don't really seem to care. Nobody's really getting outraged over this, which is frustrating. So we want to stop them from getting access to this in the first place. Incident response plan. So you have to have an incident response plan. An incident response plan is not, I'm going to shut off all my PCs and go. This is really going to depend on your insurance company. It's going to depend on the type of information, but you're going to have to talk to the FBI. You may have to report. I believe in Michigan you have to report. I know they were talking about this. You have to report that you are subject to a breach. This is getting to the federal level now where they are going to start enforcing reporting. But you have to let people know that, hey, we had a breach. There are breach reporting requirements. You are going to have to let all of the people associated with that breach know what happened. You are going to know how to deal with your insurance company. Some insurance companies, if you tell them you've suffered a breach, they're going to come in, they're going to pick up all of your PCs, your servers, they're going to take them, and you're going to have to go buy new PCs and servers or cloud infrastructure. So this all has to be set up ahead of time, and the worst time to do it is when you've had a breach. So this is the kind of stuff we do ahead of time. We sit down, we figure out what your insurance company requires. The other part of this for the insurance company is if you report it wrong, if you don't follow the steps the insurance company wants, they will deny your claim. So now you've been paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 a year for cyber liability insurance. We pay about $4,000, and they're not going to cover us. They don't care. We're done. We get nothing. I think the last statistic I read was 97% of businesses that suffer a breach go out of business in the next year. And it's not the fact that you lose the data. A big part of this is reputation. If you've got to hire a breach coach and maybe a reputation manager, and you've got to go through all of the stuff, reporting, you've got to let people know you're subject to lawsuits. People are going to sue you for losing their data. Reputation is going to take a hit. And what happens is you put yourself in a position where you're going to lose business because of the fact that you weren't secure enough to keep everything safe and somebody got the information, released it. So that's why we have to have an incident response plan. We have to know exactly what order everything's done in. We need to know who needs to be notified first and second and all that, and what they're going to expect us to do with the equipment. And then after that, it's who needs to be online first. What do we need to do to get the company running again? And is it going to require new equipment? How long will it take to implement these safeguards? So a good estimate is 4 to 6 months with everything going on. So the deadline is in June this year. Larger organizations are going to take a long time, smaller organizations less. The incident response plan alone may take 2 to 4 hours. It really depends on the size of the company and whether people want to argue about who's more important, what department is more important. I've heard of 4+ hours based on who wanted to be online first. And then I've heard of an hour. So the risk management plan, ongoing evaluations, that's not really that bad to get in place. The employee training and monitoring is probably the easiest part of this. It's just a matter of making sure the employees actually do the training. So you're looking 4 to 6 months to make sure everything's kosher, and the deadline is in June this year. So it's all great, but it's time consuming, requires a qualified professional. This is above 90% of internal IT departments level qualification. So the people working there, the people you've got doing your regular IT help desk, maybe some level 2, server permissions, things like that, security is way above their heads. It's a lot of moving parts. So, and while you wait to get it done, whether you're training people or expecting people to get trained on it, you're still at risk. So here's your options. You can try and piece it together yourself, which is going to be fun just for the learning part of it. We've been going through the learning part of this for 10+ years. When I first started in this industry, you could walk in, fix computer, and walk out. In the last 10 years, that has all changed. In the last 2 years, that has changed even more. Cyber attacks from January to February of 2021 went up 500% when the Russian Ukraine war started. And it's just gotten worse since then. The Colonial Pipeline hack, where people were putting gas in garbage bags, excuse me, that happened because an IT employee did not disable an account for an employee that left the organization. On the dark web, they found that employee's password, which had been reused on a website. Excuse me again. Then somewhere they found the pre-shared key for the VPN. And with that information, they tried until they got the right combination to get in, and they encrypted the network. Or, if you don't want to do it yourself, you partner with a qualified team of professionals like us. So we're already doing this. We've got the pieces, all the moving parts. We know what's got to be done. We come in, we help you get all your ducks in a row, and then manage it ongoing. So here's what it looks like working with us. We have a partner mindset. You are our boss. We basically become your IT department. We work together. It's a matter of making sure you've got the right pieces in place on the software side, the security side. Make sure your hardware is good. We've got to have the right equipment to keep everything secure. We want to make sure your PCs are up to date. You've got good firewalls. You've got good software that blocks anything we don't want in there. Things are encrypted where they have to be. And, then everything works and you can do your job without having to worry about all the security stuff. We constantly monitor your network so we see what's going on. If there are alerts, we fix them. When I first started in this industry, it was, hey, my PC is acting funny, and we would go over and fix it. And today it's, hey, this PC is acting funny, and we fix it before most people even know. Top tier IT and cybersecurity protocols. So we are a cybersecurity first company. We have access to all of the software. We know how to make it work. We know how to set it up. We know how to monitor it. We have a 24/7 security operations center. We have a 24/7 network operations center. We work with the largest IT management company in the world, ConnectWise, and that's how we do all this. So we've got incident response availability from a incident response team. We've got all of the software, all of the monitoring is 24/7, and this is how you do it. We help you build the policies. We do all the other stuff for you. So we've been doing this for a long time. So your next step. Next step is to book a meeting if you've got questions. The easiest way to do that is to call the office at 231-946-5969 and ask for David. David will talk to you about what's going on and set up an appointment with me. I would give you my number. I am leaving town for a weekend. So not that I don't want to talk to you right now. So call the office. If you're interested, talk to David. He'll set you up with a meeting, or we'll get on the phone and we'll go over what's going on and what you're looking for and make sure you're taken care of. And I would recommend you don't wait till June to get started on this. Things are crazy because the FTC stuff is here, and I don't see them pushing it back again. They've already pushed it back once. And hacking, the ransomware attacks and the breaches are just getting more and more, often. The thing that scares me is that most people aren't screaming about this. If you get your identity stolen, a lot of people are like, yeah, I got my identity stolen. It's gotten to the point now where people just kind of expect it to happen. At least that's what it feels like. And that's not good, because it can still affect your business. You don't want to bet your business on, yeah, they're not going to care. They're going to care, because if there's anything that's been proven is when people are unhappy, that's when they leave reviews. So they don't leave reviews when they're really happy most of the time. So we want to make sure that you never have to have that situation. Everything works. You can go to work every day and make sure that everything's good and do your job and not have to worry about all this back end stuff. And you're safe. So thanks for coming today. I hope you learned something. This is the first webinar I've done in months, so I hope I was okay. I really appreciate you coming and listening. And if you have any questions, give David a call, and we'll set up an appointment. Thank you very much.